So what we're talking about today is the Chrome headless testing and Puppeteer, which is Google's NPM package to be able to remote control the Chrome headless browser from Node. And this is me. I am the CEO now working at a startup here in Montreal, Boozang, with Wencheng Li here, so he's filming now. And we are focused on test automations. We built our test automation platform. We are not going to talk about our tool or our company. I will show one little example how the Puppeteer and Chrome headless testing is crossing over with what we do, because it's a pretty cool example. But I will try not to plug our own stuff too much. But if you are interested in talking testing, you can always come and talk to us. The big kind of driver for all this evolution and development we're seeing is, of course, the idea that we want to kind of develop features and get them out into production as fast as possible. Before, when you had some amount of manual testing, it wasn't such a big problem. But now, when we kind of keep pushing features and we want to get them into production straight away, the key is not only to have automated testing, it's to have automated unsupervised testing, right? And that's why it's so great with headless testing, where you run the browser basically without any browser window. So I will spin up all my Amazon instances with my Jenkins or my CI server or whatever I want, and it will just basically run the whole code as a user would do it within the browser, but without the need for any screen or browser window. And I tried to do this a year ago as well, using our software, which is all running in the browser. You have a tool, everything is great. And I was starting doing this using Chrome or Firefox with XVFB. And I don't know if anyone has done this here. You can get very lucky and you get it up and running one day. And then you go on another environment and it just doesn't work anymore. And then you end up troubleshooting for a day. And then your Jenkins checks out your code, makes sure everything is working, and you think you have everything working, but then you notice that all the tests have been running without having that virtual frame buffer, so anything you basically captured. So for me, it was a really big headache. And now, of course, there's a lot of stuff that happened in between those times. But now what happened is that Chrome, from version 59, supports headless mode out of the box. So basically, any Chrome browser you download now, you just basically put a flag that says headless, and it will launch without any visible window, and then you can basically remote control that and do tons of different things. What is different now is that Google also started building this NPM package, Puppeteer. So before you had to use kind of Chrome DevTools protocol to remote control the browser, and that was fairly difficult, at least for me. But now with Puppeteer, the whole setup is actually less than 15 minutes. So it's really quickly to get up and started with headless testing. And basically, even Google themselves says that the DevTools protocol is really difficult to use. And that's what, when Puppeteer comes in, basically you'll get a number of kind of higher level API functions, and they talk DevTools protocol, and then you can do a bunch of stuff with your page, which is great. One thing to be mentioned though is you can't get the service workers or touch those. I don't know how much you can do within the DevTools protocol. That's not I haven't tried it out. One thing that can be very, very good to note is that from the headless mode, you cannot run any Chrome extensions. So this is something that we are also fighting with. How can we get and include testing with extensions? And from what I understand, they don't plan on, they're saying this is not easy. So that's where it is right now. People have been saying, how can I do my headless testing with extensions? And they're basically saying this isn't an easy problem. So I think that's where it is right now. What this also means is that as soon as Chrome announced that they'll be supporting headless mode out of the box, Phantom.js retired their whole project, so there is no more, there is Phantom.js, but I think probably we should abandon that because it's not going to be supported anymore. The other thing that when Chrome decided to launch their headless stuff, there were these great libraries that was kind of helping us so we didn't have to use the DevTools protocol. But with Puppeteer getting announced, I think these might also be retired. I'm not sure about that. I'm just feeling that that's where it might go. There might be someone with more insight here. But in the end, what Puppeteer really does, it makes it really, really easy to automate. It makes it really fun. And that's what we're going to do. So now someone who doesn't do JavaScript is going to do some live coding. So that's going to be really cool. So let's see how that goes. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm basically going to kill off all my dependencies just because I want to show you something that is very, very interesting with Puppeteer. And it sounds like a detail, but it makes a huge, huge difference. So basically, my whole dependency for Puppeteer, there's some garbage in my package.json, but basically it's just this Puppeteer, and I'm using the latest one here, right? Yes? Oh, yes, thank you. So let's see how I can do that. Command plus, let's see here. Awesome. Somewhere there? Little more? Because it was looking so small on my screen, and I was like, is it okay like that? No, a little more. Little more. Now we're better, no? Awesome. Okay. So anyways, there's a bunch of stuff in here. I might talk about it, I might not. But the only thing I do is I add my Puppeteer here. So it's right there. But there is one key, what they did, that is really, really cool. And basically, it's when I run my npm install to get my dependencies, right? What they do is they automatically... So this is what happens when you do live coding. So let's figure out what this is. So, oh yeah, I don't have an internet connection. So I was setting up all the audio equipment and everything, and then I realized I don't have an internet. So how can I figure that out very easily? There is Gare Montreal plus TELUS. I was so focused on this other equipment, so I forgot that little detail. Okay, yeah, awesome. Awesome, thank you. I owe you a drink later on for that one. That's awesome. I was like, what is this big bug? And it's like, yeah, it's hard to get dependencies from the internet.
Should be okay.
Yeah, should be okay. So let's try again.
Maybe slow.
Let's see. So the cool thing is that what happens is that it gets all the dependencies, but it also downloads a Chromium version that is compatible with the. It's going to be a little. Are you on your? Is this on your?
It's my phone.
Oh, okay. So this is on your data plan. No worry.
No worries.
Are you paying for your data plan?
I activated the unlimited one. So
Oh, okay, good, okay. So anyways, the good thing is, and it's that it automatically downloads a compatible Chromium version. And this might sound like a smaller thing, but it's really good. Like, imagine if you have a Jenkins server, right? And that keeps spinning up jobs on different servers, right? And you would have to have like a globally installed Chromium version. This thing takes care of all those dependencies. So basically, it's just one command, and you're up and running, right? So this is a huge upside compared to before. So now, if we want to do something simple, it's very, very straightforward. So I'll include my. Is the font a little small there too, perhaps? So here, is that also? I'm thinking. Oh, we're very good here. Okay, we're going to be good. So the only thing you need to do is require Puppeteer. And as you can see, we're using kind of, I'm using Node version 8.9 right now. And what's good about that is all our example is using like await and kind of that JavaScript code that came with Node, I think it was 7. So it could be, it's recommended because it makes it so easy, for me at least, who is not very used to programming asynchronously at all. It's really nice because I can just put every command and I can just put in await and one thing is done first. I can see that the page is loaded and then it goes to the next page, you know. So if I want to check something fairly, the syntax is very close to night watch and other things, right? So if we look here and let's just load, let's see if I can do this. Load a URL. And then, no. So I did have live coding, but I also put all the code down here just in case. So that was a lucky thing. So now, let's see, should be a browser close. I can probably type that. Browser close. So basically what we're doing now is very simply just saying, well, it's a good indentation here, but what I'm basically doing is I'm just taking 2 arguments from the command line. I'm loading up a URL, which is the little URL in there, and then I'm basically dropping it into a file name and making a screenshot. So we should be able to run this now, so hopefully. I forgot an await, I think. Let's see. Await, you see? There, wait. So now, we should already have a screenshot. So let's see. Let's go to my Boozang, Puppeteer.
In your terminal, type open space period.
Isn't that?
Terminal, type open space period, enter. It'll open the content.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
No way.
The only reason I have a Mac is for that.
That's so mind-blowing. That's fantastic. Thank you. I'm super happy. I'm gonna be able to do this more often now. It's great. So anyways, I called it test, right? So basically, we're gonna get a little screenshot of the Google page. So basically, in 5 minutes, you can basically start doing small scripts that does screenshots and do things like this. So it's very, very quick. There is another function that is equally simple, and it's to compile it into a PDF. And I don't really see I don't see like a huge, I mean, it's great, but I'm trying to figure out where I would use this. But let's see here. So instead of screenshot, it's just PDF. And let's do format. A4, nope. A4.
Change the extension. Change the extension of the file.
Oh yes, thank you. That's a good idea, PDF. There, let's see. So now we should get a test.pdf. It's possible to do live coding when people are actually helping me out. So basically what I've noticed with the PDF, it actually will, if you have a long page, let's say take something more interesting, it would actually paginate it, which is kind of cool. I still haven't figured out what to use it for. But, so let's give it a few seconds. One thing I've noticed is there is a way to actually run the Puppeteer to drive the headless browser in the non-headless mode, so it opens the window. And when you do that, the PDF function doesn't work. So they basically implemented stuff for the headless browser that isn't supported in the regular browser. So let's look at this. Oh yeah, here. So basically, you see, you get the whole newspaper, right? In many, many pages. So it could be useful if you want to steal stuff from the internet. So now, when you have that, you can also do some really funny stuff with the viewport. So right now we can, let's do, did I get that? I don't know. Oh, I forgot the await. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Oh, await. I'm really happy I don't have to do real JavaScript with callbacks. I would have been that would have been not so good now. But let's see here. So now you can see it's a little smaller, right? So one thing they also package in Puppeteer, which is kind of cool, is if you go in, they've also given us all common devices. So if you look actually inside Puppeteer here, let's see, They gave you a number of device descriptors that look like this. So now if we want to, we can just load those devices. See. Let's see if I have it. Yeah, there I have it. And then I can emulate the device, await. And let's pick something here. Node 3.
I think you should command the line after that sets the viewport.
Yes, I should. You're right. That's a good idea. Otherwise, we're getting two things that I don't know what would happen actually. So now, well, it's pretty fast, but it's not super fast. So let's see. There it is. So one thing that is interesting with this is, first of all, you get a lot of the common devices. But the other thing you can do is you can actually, this data is just basically JSON data, right, more or less. So this data, you can just create your own devices and feed them into the headless browser, and you can control the browser, and that doesn't just mean the width and the height of the screen, right? So that's including the user agent. So if I go to, for instance, let's see here, what's my user agent? Here, for instance. It emulates the real device. So if you have logic on the client side that actually looks at user agent, I would recommend you use the emulate thing. There's a few things you get with the emulate. One thing is that the main window becomes that size, right, that viewport. But the other thing is that consecutive pop-ups windows will also be scaled, and also the user agent will be sent, right? So if you have logic, you can either use their thing. So if we look now, we can see, I can prove it. So if we look here, you're going to see the user agent there is Linux U Android 4.3, and the device I picked was U 4.3, so that's the one there you're seeing there, right? So I would actually not just, you set the viewport sometimes, but it's really useful to be able to use the emulate function because it actually emulates a real device. And there's a few other things that kind of kicks in. Let's see. And now let's do a really quick test where we also try to read something from the page. So here, for instance, we can grab the, let's see if I can do this. And then we'll have to do. I think that looks right, no? So what I'm trying to do now is, this is basically exactly the same thing as if I'm going in here and I would go inspect and I go here and I say, let's see if I can get this a little bigger. A little too big perhaps. So this is the same if I go like document, element with, so that's called client with. So basically, the same thing as I can grab information from the console here, I can also use the Puppeteer API to grab it, right? So I'm using the same thing there, document element, client with. And let's see if it comes out. Yeah, so live coding. So let's see, where is, so somewhere I'm putting a parenthesis too much or too little, no?
It's a missing one. Missing one at the end.
Oh, missing one. Like, no.
Curly.
Oh, I'm missing a curly bracket inside. Okay. Like that? So what we should see that width dimension be put out. So that's 360. And let's see what the device has. 360, so we're good. So you can read a lot from the console log. You can do a lot of things like this. And now you can start messing around with the DOM tree. You have access to a lot of things. There's a lot of things you can do, but there's one thing, like now we've been running headless and we've been putting it out to screenshots and all that, but we haven't really been following what's going on. So they did something that is really cool, and actually it changes some of the behaviors, but in the launch here, you can actually put headless false. So what that will do in curly brackets, what that will do is that it will basically launch, you still have access to the exact same commands. It will just launch the browser, right? So if we see the browser here, you're gonna see it. You see how you see what it does, you see it emulating the device, and then you can also kind of slow this down and do a bunch of different things, right? So you can see exactly what's going on while you're testing. So it's really good because I do my development kind of using this mode, and then I remove the headless. I mean, I'm just thinking of using this headless, right? But it's good while playing around to see what's going on, so you don't have to look at the screenshots, etc., right? So now I'm gonna do a really, really quick plug for our tool, because it's a really cool application, the headless running our tool as well, but I'll keep it to 5 minutes, okay? So what we've built, one typical thing that you do when you run Selenium or other test tools is that you let it run its test, its course, and then you wait for a console.out that says all tests completed, and then you close the browser and you say bye-bye, right? So we're doing the exact same thing. So if we run, let's see here, a little small perhaps. Okay. Closing that. Closing that. So we have a test tool that runs in the browser, right? That can do recordings of websites and behaviors. So I'm just going to record something very, fairly straightforward, but also kind of cool. So I'm going to create a new test. And what we do is, our test tool is having an XHTML fragment in the browser, right? So basically nothing gets installed on your computer. So when you access the fragment, it launches the tool and you can do all your recording and everything. And this is what allows us to do kind of all the testing headless. So you can record and do everything with the graphical user interface. And then you can you get a little URL, as I'm going to show you, and that one is going to kind of run the tool automatically. So I'm going to show you here. So if I call it like JSMontreal, and I'm basically going to feed in some data. So what I did is I created some data here on the, let's see here. Here I created some data. And I'm just going to loop over this data, create some projects, and see what happens, okay? So I'll go back to the test case. So now when I'm recording this project, I'll go here. So I'm not going to go into what our tool does. That's that's a whole talk in itself. But what I'm doing is I'm putting data into forms from our loop here. So I'm basically saying sample project, URL, comment. Then I'm submitting this, and I'm creating a validation on top of sample project, and I'm changing this to that, and I'm doing that, and I'm deleting something. So now I've created a test case here that does some really sophisticated stuff. The cool thing is that when you launch this, and when it's done and when the report comes up, what we basically do is we say all tests completed in the log. So what I'm going to show you what you can do with a headless browser, even when you have something that is kind of a sophisticated test flow. Here you see I provoked an error to happen. I can show you how much better this experience, what we built, becomes with headless browsing. So basically, we've done some cool stuff, okay? So let's say that. So now I'm going to copy this URL. I'm saving this URL, and I'm copying this URL. And I'm basically going to run this with the headless browser. So let's see what happens. So what I'm doing now, I've created basically an NPM package that does exactly what I did before. It just takes a few more arguments, etc. And then it sets a default viewport. I could feed it with the device. I can feed whatever I want from the command line that I did. And then it's going to generate a report. The report is going to be sent to the console.log. The console.log is basically it's gonna wait here for some emails, notifications to be sent out. But basically what I'm gonna get is, I'm gonna get this report now here saying, okay, this is what happened, this is the problem, and you'll also get like a screenshot with the problem. So the good thing here is that this is the kind of stuff that you will see in your Jenkins, right? This is the thing you would see in your dashboard on a problem in your CI flow. The other thing that is kind of cool is that if I close this tool now, because it's a link, now I can actually go in where the problem is and just click view, and it will launch the tool and it would highlight the problem exactly there. So that's kind of where headless browsing has been really good for us, because when you have control over the browser and you can basically take anything from the console log, any event that's happening, there's a lot of stuff you can do, and you can basically just put that into a file, and then you can create a lot of things from Jenkins or from a CI pipeline, and it opens up some really cool stuff. Very good. Thanks.